Hey, it's great to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tommie Patton. And Claudia asked me if I would run this first hour, a tribute to Wayne Nelson. What a great guy. He was a friend to everybody. He was a guy that everybody could call a friend. I know my wife thought he was great because he'd play for her and she'd sing and he'd say, well, you just start in and I'll catch up with you. So anyway, we have some great talent up here with us to pay tribute to Wayne. And I'd like to start off with a little poem that was written by Doug Sustrich called Reminders. A band that is soiled with sweat and dirt on a hat that is weathered and worn. Rubber strands wrapped again round the base of a saddle horn. His dog asleep in the sunshine, dreaming of working cows again. He raises an ear at the sound of his footstep and wonder where the cowboy has been. A corral full of good-looking horses content to munch on their hay. A rope coiled for the last time by hands that had earned their pay. These are all reminders of a cowboy whose life was cut short in his prime. Daily threads of his life unraveled to remind us of a happier time. His hat can remind us of roping steers, call forward to nod of a brim. Now he's made it to the short go, his partner, Jesus and him. The saddle and rope are trademarks of the cowboy's work. Calves roped and drugged to the fire, or stopped in mid-stride with a jerk. His dog was his constant companion, doing work that no hired hand can do, and waiting patiently in the pickup till his cowboy was through. These are all reminders of Wayne, but the best ones are the ones here today. Friends, family, and memories that we can treasure in our hearts every day. Thank you. First up here will be Bryan Dilworth. Come on up here, Bryan.
Well, one of Wayne's favorite Australian bush poems was The Man from Snowy River. So I'll do that piece for you today. It was written by Banjo Paterson. It's interesting, Banjo Paterson is also the fellow that wrote Waltzing Matilda, which is the national anthem, and he's on the $10 bill. So he's pretty well loved in Australia. There was movement at the station, for the word had passed around that the colt from Old Regret had got away and had joined the wild bush horses. He was worth 1,000 pounds, and all the cracks had gathered to the fray. All the tried and noted riders from the stations near and far had gathered at the homestead overnight. For the bushmen love hard riding where the wild bush horses are, and the stock horse snuffs the battle with delight. There was Harrison, who made his pile when Pardon won the cup. The old man with his hair as white as snow, but few could stay beside him when his blood was fairly up. He would ride wherever horse and man could go. And Clancy of the Overflow came down to lend a hand. No better rider ever held the reins, for never horse could throw him while the saddle girths would stand. He learned to ride while droving on the plains. And one was there, a stripling on a small and weighty beast, something like a racehorse undersized with a touch of timber pony, 3 parts thoroughbred at least, the kind that are by mountain horsemen prized. He was small and tough and wiry, just the kind that won't say die. There was courage in his quick and patient tread, and he bore the badge of gameness in his bright and fiery eye and the proud and lofty carriage of his head. yet still so slight and weedy, one would doubt his power to stay, and the old man said, "That horse will never do for the long and tiring gallop. Boy, you better stop away. Those hills are far too rough for such as you." So he waited, sad and wistful. Only Clancy stood his friend. "I think we ought to let him go," he said, "for I warrant he'll be with us when he's needed at the end. For both his horse and he are mountain bred. For he hails from Snowy River, up by Coyote's side, where the hills are twice as steep and twice as rough, where the horse's hooves strike firelight from the flint stones every stride, and the man who holds his own is good enough. Where those snowy mountain riders on that mountain make their home, where the river flows those mighty hills between. I've seen far many horsemen since I first commenced to roam, and nowhere yet such horsemen have I seen." So he went. They found the horses by the big mimosa clump. They raced away towards the mountain's brow, and the old man gave his orders, "Boys, go at 'em from the jump. No use to try for fancy riding now. And Clancy, you must wheel 'em. Try to wheel 'em to the right. Ride boldly, lads, and never fear the spills. For never was there horseman that could keep the mob in sight if once they reached the shelter of those hills." So Clancy rode to wheel 'em. He was racing on the wing where the best and boldest riders take their place. And he ran his stock whip past him, and he made the ranges ring with his stock whip when he met them face to face. And they halted for a moment while he swung the dreaded lash. But they saw their well-loved mountains full in view, and they charged beneath that stock whip with a sharp and sudden dash, and off into the mountain scrub they flew. And fast the horsemen followed, where the ranges deep and black resounded to the thunder of their tread. And their stock whips woke the echoes, and they swiftly answered back from cliffs and crags that beetled overhead. And upward, ever upward, the wild horses held their way, where mountain ash and carrot jug grow wide. And the old man muttered fiercely, "We can bid this mob good die. No man can hold them down the other side." When they reached the mountain summit, even Clancy took a pull. It may well make the boldest hold their breath, for the wild hop scrub grew thickly, and the hidden ground was full of wombat holes, and any slip was death. But the man from Snowy River let his pony have his head. He swung his stock whip round and gave a cheer, and he ran him down that mountain like a torrent down its bed, while the others stood and watched in very fear. They sent the flintstones flying, but his pony kept his feet. They cleared the fallen timber in their stride, and the old man from Snowy River never shifted in his seat. It was grand to see that mountain horseman ride. Through the stringy barks and saplings o'er that rough and broken ground, down that mountain at a racing pace they went, and he never pulled the bridle till he landed safe and sound at the bottom of that terrible descent. He was right among the horses when they climbed the further hill, and the watchers on the mountain, standing mute, saw him ply his stock whip fiercely. He was right among them still as they raced across the clearing in pursuit. Then they lost him for a moment, where two mountain gullies met on the ranges. But a further glimpse reveals on a far and distant hillside the wild horses racing yet, with the man from Snowy River at their heels. And he ran them single-handed till their sides were white with foam. He followed like a bloodhound on their track, till they halted, cowed and beaten. And he turned their heads for home, and alone and unassisted brought them back. And his hardy mountain pony, he could barely raise a trot. He was blood from hip to shoulder, from the spur. But his pride was still undaunted, and his courage fiery hot, 'cause never once was mountain horse a cur. So down by Coyote, where the pine-clad ridges raise their torn and ragged battlements on high, where the air is clear as crystal, and the bright stars fairly blaze at midnight in a cold and frosty sky, and up around the overflow where the wheat beds sweep and sway to the breezes and the rolling hills are wide, the man from Snowy River is a household word today, and the stockmen tell the story of his ride. Banjo Paterson.
Thank you, Bryan. Really great poem. Our next performer will be Chris Riker. She wrote a poem about Wayne, and she read it to me over the phone. I thought, man, that is really good. So I asked her if she wouldn't be here and do that poem and whatever else she has. Chris Riker.
Thank you very much. Banjo Paterson is one of my favorite people, and I know people from Australia, have friends from there, and one of them used to go to Australia on a buying trip every year. So I asked this woman over in Sacramento if she would bring me back and both Henry Lawson, the other great poet from Australia, and Banjo Paterson works. So she brought me the complete works of Banjo Paterson. But there's something else about the man that many people don't know. When World War I was in the upheaval of the world, Kitty Wilkins and other horse breeders here in the United States sent horses for the cavalry. They were not acclimated to the desert and the Holy Land, so they died by the thousands. Banjo Paterson was in charge of the cavalry for Australia. He sent the Australia Brumbies to the Holy Land. The Australian light cavalry on those Brumbies were able to take Beersheba, which gave General Allenby the victory and let the Allies win World War I. So that's another accomplishment of Banjo Paterson. The morning after I learned about Wayne Nelson's death, I wrote a poem and sent it to Becky, his wife. So this is the tribute that I wrote for Wayne Nelson. The Sagebrush Saint. He loved so deeply the Idaho plain, and he honored it in poetry and song. And so we called him Snake River Wayne. On these sagebrush flats he did belong, as surely as the antelope and the deer, and the coyote along the trail, and the sun that ripples on the river swift, and the winds that blow the winter gale. St. Peter was once a fisherman rough, and I'm sure he heard many a joke while he sailed on his boat and mended his nets and toiled alongside his lowly kinfolk. Now Peter can enjoy a hearty laugh as he listens to Wayne's tall tale of that rowdy white bull we once heard about, the one he called Snowville. And the angels who once played on harps of gold can lay those instruments aside and learn to play on sagebrush harps with Snake River Wayne, their guide. He can sing his haunting lullabies to the lost water babies of yore, the Shoshone and Bannock infants who drowned by the lonely and cold Snake River shore. Oh, how we will miss him, his humor and wit, his talent so rich in detail. But it was time to share with others up there who have gone on ahead up the trail. His next Diamond-Filled Jack gathering will be with his peers and some of our own, Don Kennington, Gordon Peterson, Les Merrill, and some we have never known, like Joaquin Miller, Gail Gardner, S. Omar Barker, Charles Badger Clark, and Bret Hart. We will join you, dear friend, when we come to our end, and never again will we part.
It's thank you, Christine. What a tribute to Wayne. Okay, Ken Worthington is going to sing us a little songs here. Come on up here, Ken.
Thank you, Tommie. Well, Wayne was a great guy, no question about that. One thing I really admired of him, he was, I thought, very instrumental in having a special heart for veterans and for patriotism. And I'd like to do some excerpts from some of these songs here for him in his honor. God bless America again. You've seen all the trouble that she's in. Wash her pretty face, dry her eyes, and then God bless America again. God, I sure do wish you'd bless America again. You know, like you did way back when it all began. You blessed her then, but we just sort of kind of took it for granted and never did ask again. So God, just hold her hand, that's all. And if she should stumble, please don't let her fall. God bless America again. You've seen all the trouble that she's in. Wash her pretty face, dry her eyes, and then God bless America again. You know, I don't understand everything I read and hear about what's wrong with America today. And when you don't have a lot of knowledge about what's going on in the world around you, well, I guess there's a lot of things that we don't understand. But let me say this, God, she's like a mother to me. And all that I am or ever hope to be, I owe it all to you, to her. God bless America again. You've seen all the trouble that she's in. Wash her pretty face, dry her eyes, and then God bless America again. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps through the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. Campfire, coffee from a tin cup in my hand, sure warms our fingers when it's cold. Playing an old guitar, a friend I understand, sure smooths the wrinkles in my soul. blanket for my bed leaves a peaceful feeling in my mind. Waking up in the morning with an eagle overhead makes me want to fly away before my time. And I think God must be a cowboy at heart. He make wide open spaces from the start. He made grass and trees and mountains and a horse to be a friend and trails to lead old cowboys home again. Nightlife and big cities is alright for a while. Sure makes you feel good when you're there. But the country's so pretty, it goes on and on for miles. Takes away my troubles and my care. And I think God must be a cowboy at heart. He made wide open spaces from the start. He made grass and trees and mountains and a horse to be a friend and trails to lead old cowboys home again. There's a gold mine in the sky far away. We will find it, you and I, some sweet day. There'll be clover just for you down the line, where the skies are always blue, pal of mine. Take your time, old mule, I know you're growing lame, but you'll pasture in the stars when we strike that claim. And we'll sit up there and watch the world roll by. When we find that long lost gold mine in the sky, far away, far away, we will find that long lost gold mine some sweet day, and we'll say hello to friends who said goodbye. When we find that long lost gold mine in the sky, far away, far away.
Thank you, Ken. Our next person who's going to get up here is Ted Hoffman. He and Wayne were awfully good friends, so here you are, Ted.
Thank you, Tommie. One of the regrets that I guess I hadn't expected when Wayne passed was kind of an unusual one. I kept wishing that he had met my mother, and of course my mother had passed half a dozen years before I ever met Wayne, and I've tried to make some sense of that. And it just, the more I thought about it, I realized it was just that he was just such a good man that I knew she would have enjoyed meeting him, and I could see in my mind's eye, excuse me, she and Wayne talking and enjoying being with each other. And I regretted that couldn't happen. Of course, we all enjoyed spending time with Wayne. He was that kind of a guy. He was a genuinely good man, a nice man. Will Rogers was one of Wayne's heroes. Of course, Will's famous for saying he never met a man he didn't like. In my mind, Wayne never met somebody he couldn't help. Not that Wayne felt they needed help, but people just always seemed to ask Wayne for help, and they always got it. From as simple as, what's a C chord, or how do I write a poem, to finishing something up in the studio. It didn't necessarily have to be about music. Maybe music was a street they were walking on. Maybe music wasn't about what the help wasn't the help they got, but they got some help from Wayne. He was a good kid. I don't think Wayne ever went to a musical event. If you think back, the ones that we went to with him, that you didn't see him help somebody. Just kind of what he did. You would see people over and over again, if you spent much time with Wayne, from one place to another, that just come up and say hi, because they appreciated what he'd done for them in the past. He had a lot of good friends in a lot of places. Thank the Lord that he either gave Wayne the abilities he had, or he let Wayne go get them. I don't know which it was, but he sure was chock full of ability. And it was good for those of us he helped, and I'm certainly one of them. And good for what he was able to create and leave behind for us to remember him by. You know, he loved everything about the Cowboys, the people, the places that made them who they were. There's rich stories there. People like Monty the Night Captain. Wayne would meet people and get to the very bottom of them, understand their core, and then write something about them to share them with other people. His work, his art was good art, very helpful to other people. Told stories that were meaningful. People and places. Monty the Night Captain, the old timer. A half-crooked stock detective, only half in jest probably, Dry Valley, Snake River Plains, events, Stockton's Wars, the Water Babies, as Christine mentioned. We have a rich heritage that Wayne left behind to remember him by, but we also should keep track of him. He was just such a good man. And that's a heritage we should think of too. I'd like to do a poem that Wayne and I wrote together. And it was one of the reasons we liked it so much. It was important to provide some information to young people about being a cowboy. Because these are tough times for those of us with that bent. Future doesn't look all that rosy, but we will persevere as we have forever, it seems. And knowing where you came from sometimes helps a lot in knowing where you want to go and what you can do. And that's what's in this poem. We were both at that time in life where what we said to young people was becoming more and more important. Since the first horse was gentled, there have been those who won't settle. They live life a horseback to care for stock. They ride in wild places with wide open spaces, and they watch like an eagle, think like a fox. The Cossacks of Russia, Genghis Khans of Mongols, Comanches, Nez Perce, all prairie spawned. They danced with the wind, beholden to no man. If they were happy, they'd stay. If not, they'd drift on. Well, then America fashioned her own breed of horsemen with a dream as bold as her western sky. She blended the bravery of the Minuteman patriot with the Southerner's courtesy and their fierce pride. She added the skills of the vaquero and the immigrant's drive for a new way of life, a slave's lust for freedom, all passions needed to build the heart of a hero for her paradise. Sometimes in the campfire, you can still see their faces, that Yankee farmer on Concord Bridge, a red-headed Patty turned salty old trailhand, or a buffalo soldier alone on a ridge. Although they've gone before you, their ghosts won't ignore you. They're part of you now. They look out through your eyes because you are the symbol of all that America promised. You carry the dream with you as you ride. So when a bronc breaks you, or a bad norther takes you, or wolves come howling down your trail at night, there's no reason to fear it. America's spirit shares the saddle with you. Take a deep seat and ride. Ride, cowboy, ride. Keep that dream alive. And ride, cowboy, ride. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. That was a really nice tribute. Okay, we have some people that call themselves Prairie Wind. They're pretty windy. Coyote Joe, and then the guy that really makes him sound good, Little Joe.
Thanks, Tommie. You've always been a good friend.
I'll pay you later.
Yeah. Probably have to pay him later. Get back home. We'll do a little adjustment up here. Is that okay there, Sam?
I don't think you really have a choice.
I don't think I had a choice because we was talking about my new girlfriend, Bridget. She's a midget. She's a cute little thing, you know. All right, that's good there. How are you gonna have us do one? Think one good? What? Do one. We'll think about it. Yeah. I'll make this short and sweet. I met Wayne about 12 years ago. That's all. We were at a gathering musical festival, and was sitting out on the back lawn with Bodie Dominguez and a couple other fellers playing along there. We realized something in common we had, and that we were what they call wordsmiths. We were songwriters. And Wayne told me, he says, you know, one thing I like about you there, Coyote, you tell a story, and you always have. He said, I've been listening to you for 2 days, and he says, it's the first time I got the opportunity to play music with you. And he says, I want to thank you. I'm not sure right then, he was kind of inspired for Ticket in the Sky. But Wayne and I kind of held a kinship just because we were writers. Ready, Joe? Yep. Oh, there's that volume. In a little bar in Texas, on a sultry summer day, Cowboy came in off the road to spend the time of day. He pulled a stool up to the bar, pulled his hat back on his head, listened to the stories told, and this is what he said. And he said, I can tell you stories about the Indians on the plains, Talk about Wells Fargo, the coming of the trains. Talk about the slaughter and the buffalo that once roamed. Sing a song of the settlers, couple looking for a home. And the man with the big hat is buying. Step up while the drinking is free. Step up to the cowboys, dead or a dying. Drink to my compadre and me. Drink to my compadre and me. His shirt was brown and faded. His hat was black and brimmed. The pants he once wore were black. They had a pocket missing on the back. And he had a finger missing on the hand that rolled the smokes. He laughed and talked a cowboy life, but you know, it weren't no joke. But he said, I rode a cattle drive from here to San Antonio. 10 days in the saddle, no weary to the bone. I rode from Wichita without a woman's smile. The campfire where I cooked my beans, it was the only light for miles. And the man with the big hat is buying. Drink up while the drinking is free. Drink up to the cowboys, dead or a dying. Drink to my compadre and me. Drink to my compadre and me. How about Joe? Well, he rested easy at the bar, put his foot upon the rail, laughed and talked the times he'd had while riding out on the trail. The silence was never broken by the words that passed through his lips, quiet as a 45 that hung there on his hip. And he said, I seen days so hot that your pony couldn't stand. And if your water bag is dry, don't go counting on the land. And winters, I've seen winters when your boots froze to the snow. And the only thought was leaving, but you had no place to go. And the cattle are dying, yeah, that's right. Drink up while the drinking is free. Drink up to the cowboys, dead or a dying. Drink to my compadre and me. Drink to my compadre and me. Well, he rolled himself another cigarette, and he turned toward the door. I heard his boots burst jingling as his boot heels hit the floor. He loosened his belt a notch, pulled his hat back down on his head. As he turned to say goodbye to me, these are the words he said. Now the highlines chase the highways, and all the ranges are closed. You see, a working cowboy is really hard to find out there, you know. But a cowboy's life is lonely, and his lot is not the best. If it hadn't been for boys like us, there wouldn't have been no West. And the man with the big hat is buying. Drink up while the drinking is free. Drink up to the cowboys, dead or a dying. Drink to my compadre and me. Drink to my compadre and me. did. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Tommie here. See what he has to say, Unplugged time?
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, thank you for the great music. We're going to try to do some short ones and get back through here. Wayne was a good friend, and a couple of the things he did that I could really relate to was Monty the Night Caver and Stomp Detective. Because in my youth, I knew some pretty successful people that started the Long Rope Cattle Company. But anyway, he was a friend to everybody. I'd like to do a Baxter Black poem called Take Care of Your Friends. Friend is a word I don't throw around. Though it's used and abused, I still like the sound. I save it for people that's done right by me. I know I can count on if ever need be. Some of my friends ride big limousines, own ranches and banks, and visit with queens. And some of my friends are up to their neck in overdue notes and can't write a check. They're singers or ropers or riders or pros, and others, God bless them, can't blow their own nose. I guess being friends don't have nothing to do with talent or money or knowing who's who. It's a comfortable feeling when you don't have to care about choosing your words or being quite fair. Because friends will just listen and let go on by those words you don't mean and not bat an eye. It makes your friends happy to see your success. They're proud of your good side and forgive all the rest. And that ain't so easy all the time, because sometimes I get crazy and seem to go blind. Your friends just might have to take you on home and remind you sometime that you're not alone, and ever so gently pull you back to the ground when you think you can fly when no one's around. A hug or a shake, whichever seems right, is the high point of giving, I'll tell you tonight. All worldly riches and tributes of men can't hold the candle to the worth of a friend. Thank you. Bryan, come on up here.
Okay. About the only short poem I know is another Australian one. It was written by Will Ogilvie, called The Hooves of the Horses. The hooves of the horses, so witching and sweet, is the music earth steals from iron-shod feet. No whisper of lover, no trilling of bird, can stir me as hooves of the horses have stirred. They spurn disappointment, they trample despair, they drown with their drum beats the challenge of care. With scarlet and silk for their banners above, they are swifter than fortune and sweeter than love. On the wings of the morning they gather and fly. In the hush of the evening, I hear them go by, these horses of memory galloping through, with flashing white fetlocks all wet with the dew. When they lay me to slumber, no place you could choose, but will ring to the rhythm of galloping shoes, and under the daisies, no grave be so deep, but the hooves of the horses will sound in my sleep. Will Ogilvie.
Thank you, Bryan. 15. Yep, hold 1 minute.
Come November, I will have been in this state for 10 years. The first Cowboy poetry gathering I went to, Wayne sang a song, Scatter My Ashes on the Snake River Plain. Beautiful song, and I went up to Wayne and I said, I can see Idaho with my eyes, but you see Idaho with your heart. This is a song, poem I wrote about Idaho through my eyes because I can't see it with my heart the way Wayne did. Bless his heart, he was so genuine. The mountain men swore it never could be that white men could settle this land, where winter descends with bitter blast, imprisoning nature in a frozen band. Elk and deer descended the slopes to valleys far and away, there to await a benevolent spring that vanquished winter hoary and gray. They trapped the beaver when the pelts were prime at the risk of their very lives, and only the strongest lived to tell of the dangers they'd survived. They saw the land as Adam and Eve had seen it millenniums ago, unspoiled by civilized man's refuse, as fresh as the driven snow. How could they think in wildest dreams of the horse replaced by steam, of iron rails where moose and wolf once drank by a sparkling stream? The indomitable spirit of those mountain men, who were legends in their own time, drove those who followed in their steps to tame the wilderness they left behind. Farms now sprawl across the plains that Shoshone and Bannock called home, the silvery sagebrush pushed aside so sheep and cattle could freely roam. The mountain men swore it never could be that white men could settle this land, dare share the haunt of the grizzly bear and the Rocky Mountains so majestic and grand.
Yeah.
Check. Precious memories, unseen angel. Gotta change keys. Precious memory, unseen angel, sent from somewhere to my soul. How they linger ever near me, and the sacred past unfold. Precious memory, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. Precious Father, loving Mother, fly across those lonely years. And old home scenes of my childhood in fond memory appear. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight,
All right, Ed. What? We got.
This is a poem probably one of the last times I talked to Wayne. I said, Wayne, I think you and I wrote this rather than just me. And he said, no. He said, we had lots of poems where we helped each other. I just helped you with it. But he helped me write this for about 2 years. This isn't a Western poem, but it's a poem about what's on a lot of Western folks' minds. And a lot of folks my age and Wayne's minds too. And I'm sure it'll come to me here in a minute what the first word of it is. Because of America's veterans, there are 2 places to live in this world today. The land of the free and someplace else. Citizen soldiers they are, soldiers who have always kept us free of foreign tyranny, and citizens whose words must be heard, because pray as we might for their safety, they have paid for our safety and our freedom. And so it has been since we the people began the revolution by walking alone in the dark to find one and then another who also held freedom in their heart, gathering at Concord Bridge and Lexington Town to stop the raiding British and chase them down. And again in 1776, Christmas, outside Philadelphia, as the founding fathers fled, we the people, the few still left in the army, badly beaten by the British for months, our enlistments up, unpaid, many barefoot, all hungry and cold, were asked by General Washington for one more battle, because the fate of the entire revolution hung in the balance in those times that tried men's souls. Some drowned crossing the icy Delaware River that Christmas night, and others, if they stopped from lameness or sickness, froze in the snowstorm that covered their march to the fight that they won through courage and surprise, taking a much larger army as their prize and reigniting rebellion across the countryside that chased the frightened British back into their forts to hide. The Redcoats never regained their confidence, and we the people never lost ours. Before long, the greatest minds in our land wrote a constitution that defined and limited our government's powers. But we the people balked. Not enough, we said. We risked our lives, our families, and all that we had. Our government must respect us and our property, or it could turn just as bad. It should adhere to the principles on that old battle flag. Don't tread on us, just as surely as they obey. In God we trust. And so our very first veterans in one of their first political fights helped win the charge that won for all Americans, our Bill of Rights. Now, who am I to presume to provide a bit of history here today? Just a veteran, fortunate to have served in safety, but with something to say to our patriots across time who have helped keep us a people and nation strong, and to other veterans, my father, uncles, my brother-in-law, so many friends, my brother veterans in hospitals and homes, and those who lie beneath crosses here and overseas in row upon row without end. To say that I too see what I believe you must, what is happening to this country of ours. This sacred gift from veterans past to us today to defend, and in our turn pass on to future soldiers to hold in trust. And to say that I am searching and sure I will find one than another who also holds loyalty and freedom in their hearts, willing to face the fire and the ice and the accusations and shoulder the costs of beginning the march on those who raid our taxes and our jobs and the ideals of our youth and chase them out. We are coming. We will succeed. We, the people, have never failed because we can reach out to veterans past for guidance and inspiration, and forward to future generations for determination and ready reinforcements at our side. Because of these bonds, we remain a great nation despite choices we have made. We will succeed. We have stumbled, but we never fail nor fall. Because we, the people, from Concord to Kabul, have always answered America's call with soldiers, patriots, and veterans, heroes all. God bless America, and God bless her heroes, one and all.
Thank you, Ted. All right. We'll have the Joe brothers, Coyote and Little.
Coyote Little. What was it, about 5 years ago or so you met Wayne? About that now?
Longer than that.
Think so?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, thank you. Got to get a road map for this thing.
Dress them up, but you can't take them to town.
Yeah, right.
All these guys are getting ready.
Anyway, one thing Wayne did like, and that was Little Joe. He liked listening to him play the guitar. And they'd get together, and if they started something, it lasted a good 10, 15 minutes. Maybe
You're
longer.
just jealous.
Yeah, I know. I got to sit off the side going, okay. Anyway, I'm going to let Little Joe do one of his. I hope it's one I know.
Just want to do the backwards right?
Sure. This one here is one Joe wrote called Backwards Ragged. Oh, I guess I ought to plug in. I was comfortable the way I was.
I take that back about dressing them up.
Yeah, well, okay. Thank you again.
Thank you, folks.
And we'd like to thank Tommie for hosting this hour as a tribute to Mr. Wayne Nelson.
Okay. Thank you on behalf of myself, Bryan, Dilworth, Ted Hoffman, the Joe brothers, Little and Coyote, Chris Riker, Ken Worthington. Thank you. I don't know if you've noticed it, but we have tripled the audience since we've been here. Thank you. The mini strains are going to come up here and really entertain you.